Hi gardening friends. Well, I have started my big vegetable garden. So let me show you what we have gotten done so far. I'm doing it essentially the same way that I did my cut flower one. So there is the cut flower one. Now on this one, I used boards that say they're nominally an inch thick. They're not. They're a little less. And oh my goodness, we just filled this up yesterday and it looks like some little critter has already dug a hole. Well, hopefully they're not in there. Let's see, do they have an exit hole over here? No? Well, I hope they vacate by the time I start planting things in another day or two. Anyways, so that is as much as I was planning to do with this one. Although it looks like maybe I'll need to put a little bit of netting around. We'll see. I live out in the country. There's bound to be things that'll get into things. But today I got a good start on the big U-shaped vegetable garden. Now this will definitely have fencing, so you can see I've got 2x2s that will all be eventually the equivalent of 6 feet high. This is 6 feet. Right now these two are 8 feet because you can see I've got a little bit of a slope here. So I'm using 2-inch by 8-inch boards. They're actually 1.5 inches thick, but I wanted this to be something that will last for a good long time. So basically every part of the bed where I actually have vegetables will be essentially 2 feet wide, here with 2 feet, and then go across the back with 2 feet, and then come back on this side with 2 feet. And then in here, oops, excuse me, tripping over my winter sowing containers. In here will be a 4x6 gravel, I don't know what to call it, just a little section in the center where I can stand and then be able to work all the way around. So there will be 3 8-inch boards, 10-inch boards actually, I forgot. I decided to go with 10-inch. So this here will actually be 30 inches tall. The sides will start at 20 and be a little bit taller at the back, but that's just to account for the slope. That's a lot of dirt. If I was going to fill up the whole inside with garden soil, I'm not going to do that. I do have still quite a bit left from the 3 yards that I had delivered a day or two ago, and I used some of it for the cut flower bed. The rest I'll use in here. Plus, if I have leftover, I may add another little spot along a walkway. But my plan is to, on the very bottom, start with cardboard like I did with my cut flower one, and then put some branches and then some mulch. I still have quite a bit, a decent amount left from the mulch I had delivered to do all the flower beds for this year. They were all due for a good freshening, and then I'll put dirt. So we'll see how much dirt that all is going to end up taking, but I'm not buying any more dirt. I've bought as much as I can. So anyways, this is the start, and I'm building this. Oh, look at that sunset. So pretty. This is why I love living out here. What I'm doing is using my Kreg jig to make, let me see if I can find one. It's getting dark and hard to see. Oh no, did that get put on backwards? It did. Oh, I meant to put this part on the inside. Okay, well, we can maybe fix that. So you can see right here is the Kreg holes, and that is done with a jig, and then you can put your screws in there, and then they're allows you to connect things like this, like 2 boards. So anyways, all right, well, more on this when we get more done. Hey, I wanted to show you guys how I'm getting the Kreg jig on the boards that I thought were 2 inches thick. That's what they're listed as, but they're actually at a nominal width. They're actually 1.5 inches. So I was able to use my Kreg jig on these boards to connect everything, which was awesome because it's saving me close to $100 that it was costing me to buy mending boards and a certain type of screw to use with them. So those are going back to Home Depot, except for the one mending board that I used initially and then realized that the boards weren't exactly 2 inches thick. So what I found when I'm using the Kreg jig on a regular, not as large of a board, I can just set my Kreg jig down on a table, or I think I used this for my boards that were 1 inch, and then the Kreg jig, comes with 2 of these that you stick underneath the Kreg jig on either side, and then that helps give you a place to rest something like, say, a shorter 2x4 or a smaller board. But with these really big boards that are on the heavier side, what I'm finding is easier is I'm laying it across my Gorilla Cart, which then I'm also using if I have several that I'm taking out to where I'm building, and just clamping on the Kreg jig like this. You want to make sure that the bottom is tight up against the bottom. This is really the bottom of the Kreg jig. And then clamp it down and then stick the drill in one of the holes and let the drill do its thing. Sorry for the sniffle. And just drill through the board. And then you end up with some sawdust and something that looks like this that goes in like here. And then I'm using, since this is a thicker board, I'm using 2.5 inch blue coated Kreg jig screws because they will be able to handle being outside. I'll screw this in and it'll go into probably about here, and then this will go into the board that I'm connecting it to. So that has been working pretty well. I'm getting close to having the outside of the bed constructed, so I'll give you another update once I get all those boards in place and explain how I put it all together. this is the part where I'm going to need a little bit of help. So I'm going to get a family member, and they don't like to be on camera. So I'm going to explain what we're going to do. Then I'm going to turn off the camera, and then I'll show you when we're done. Basically, I've started a couple screws to put this in, but because of the slope, I'm going to have to, for lack of a better word, use some really big shims at this end of the inside of the U to help keep things level. And I need an extra pair of hands to hold that secure against that 2x2 for me to be able to put those screws in, and then I'll put some stuff under, some 2x4s under this end until I get it all built, and then I'll actually attach a couple of 2x4s, whatever is needed to help keep it as level as possible. So I'm going to go ahead and get the other 2 screws ready over here, and then I'll get a family member to hold the board for me, and then I'll show you what's next. I've got the basic frame all done, and I'm going to start now putting some things in the bottom to help fill up the first several inches. You can see I've added cardboard all the way around. Places where I had to raise it up, like here I had to put a couple 2x4s because of the slope, so there is a gap. What I'm doing for now is I've just put some cardboard to keep the mulch and things that I put in the boxes. And then what I'm going to do, instead of putting chicken wire on the inside, I'm going to go ahead, I think, and staple chicken wire here on the outside. I think that will be easier ultimately. We'll see once I get this started filling up. Obviously I don't have any other choice, but that's my plan. And so now I think I'm ready to start filling it up. Then once I get kind of some base in here, then I'm going to go ahead and put down, I'm only putting a weed control fabric right here where I know will always just be gravel, because I just don't want to fight weeds in here. I want to try to avoid having to use any sort of chemical weed control. So I will put a barrier down first and then load this up with gravel. And then also during this process, I will be then filling in with the dirt so that I can start planting things. And I will do my fencing around once I get everything inside. And I don't know if that's necessarily the best order. It's the order I'm going to have to take, because I have some family members who will take whatever mulch I don't need. So I want to get that figured out first so that they can have the mulch that I don't need sooner than later. So here we are. That's an update, and I'll let you have a look once I get this base layer all filled in. The day I filled the bottom part of this garden with mulch was so warm. It was lovely, but carrying the mulch in 2-gallon buckets back and forth, whew, it took me pretty much all day, but I got it done. This is my pile of dirt, and I used almost all of it. I was still using my 2-gallon bucket back and forth from the pile, so I got to this point and had to stop for the day. Hi everyone. I am hopefully approaching the finish line with my vegetable garden bed extravaganza here. Let me show you where I'm at. This is my door, and let's just say this is a definite classic example of making things up as you go along. Not exactly what I originally planned on. I originally planned on having 3 or 4 of these 1x4s at the bottom so that it would kind of simulate the bottom of the vegetable bed, but one of the 4 boards was pretty warped, and I didn't think it would be able to be straightened enough just by screwing it together with these 1x2s. So I ended up putting 2 1x4s flanked on either side by a 1x2, and then 2 1x2s in the middle, and then 1 1x4 with 1x2s on either side. This is the This is the outside of the door, so this will be what you see from the outside. And I originally intended, and then I got all the chicken wire on here and I messed up. So the way I did this was I took the horizontal pieces, I kind of set them on the ground in my garage, and then I took these two outside 1x2s, laid it on top of, and got everything square and screwed it together. Then my intention was that I was going to put the chicken wire on this side and then kind of sandwich it with two more 1x2s on the sides here, so the chicken wire was in between. Well, then I got all done with the chicken wire and realized I had the chicken wire on the wrong side from where I intended. So because I used 2-foot chicken wire and the door is about 3 feet wide, I took my two 1x2s and I just stuck them on the back, extra vertical support, and put it here where the pieces overlapped. So we'll see how it holds up. I've got lots of staples in the chicken wire. We'll see. So now I'm getting ready to put it in the opening where the door will go. And what I'm going to do to make it all fit is put a 2x4 this way, and then whoops, there it goes, a 2x6 this way. So I'll show you that when I get it all done. I'm getting ready to put some Kreg screw holes in the 2x6 so that I can connect it to the 2x4. The 2x4, I'm going to just use some longer screws and screw it right into this 2x2. So I'll be back when I get that done. All right, my made it up as I went along door is up. We'll see if it lasts. I've got it just a little simple hook and eye, I think is what it's called, that I got from Ace Hardware. I think this will hopefully keep the door on. I do notice that there's a bit of a gap here, so I'm not sure if I need to at some point maybe put some hardware cloth like this either on the door or on the back side of this. I can only get it open so far right now. I think I might have to dig out a little bit right here, although this might be enough of an opening. I'll have to see. But at this point, the bed is filled. I've got the door. I hope that was the harder part. Now I'm going to attempt to put chicken wire on some horizontal supports first, and then put the horizontal supports, screw them into these vertical supports that I've added. I'm just feeling like it might be easier to do that than trying to staple with my staple gun while it's up like this on here. I'm still going to have to do that down here, and where I couldn't find chicken wire that was wide enough to do it all in one piece that I was willing to spend the money on. So I've got some 4-foot and then some 2-foot. So I'm going to give it a try and see how it goes. I'll check back with you when I get to that part. Well, here's a Gertrude. Sorry, that's the name I've been calling my vegetable garden. Here's a little update. I had these are all from a winter sown container, and so are these, and they are doing fantastic so far. They are, my understanding, is a cold weather crop. They survived a fairly decent frost a week or so ago and still seem to be doing fine. So loving that. I'm not sure how long these will be, but I can see a little carrot starting to, like, some carrots in there. So I don't know how long, and I probably should have tried to separate these, but they were pretty clumped together. So we'll see. I also had started a bunch of nasturtiums inside the house, and I put them all out here, and again, figured they were fine because they'd been out here for several days before we had that frost. And as you can see, most of them, I think, are probably goners. There are a couple there, maybe there, probably there. A couple maybes over here that may have survived the frost, so we'll see. But I had the loveliest little acorn squash that was in a winter sown container, so I assumed, bad on me, that it would be okay. And oh, here, this was the acorn squash, and look, oh, it was such a cute little plant. It had several good sized leaves, and that frost just killed it, I think. I'm not gonna completely tear it out yet, but it does not look good. Oh, I planted some seeds for lettuce, or I threw those down here, and it looks like a few of them are starting to sprout. At least I think that's what those are. And I planted some potatoes over here and some sweet potatoes over here, but I don't see anything yet. I wasn't necessarily expecting to, so we'll see how that goes. Oh, there's some more little things over there. I think that's lettuce. I'd have to look back at my thing to make sure, but I did stick a little lettuce seed packet here that I used up when I was throwing some seeds in here. I did also throw a few more carrot seeds to try to have kind of a succession of the, I would have some more carrots after these are all done. And then my niece's track team was having a fundraiser selling plants, and the company that sells the plants has usually very high quality things. So I bought a pack of strawberries, and it came with 6 plants. You can see here there's one that's already hopefully going to start. It's already the bloom has already done its thing, and that should be the beginning of a strawberry there. And there's another bloom here. So these look like very healthy plants. They had quite a few runners, so I'm going to try. I'm not really sure how to do this. I suppose I could have looked it up. But runners, you really don't want to leave on plants that are younger, from what I read, but you can use them to start new plants. So there were a couple runners, like this is actually the end of a runner from this plant that I have just tucked down in the soil but left it attached. I did the same thing over here, but then these are a couple runners. Well, that one I guess I left attached, but then like here's one that I just actually snipped off the end part. Somewhere over here was another little one. I just snipped it off and stuck it in the dirt, and we'll see what happens. I think this one surely probably will hopefully become a plant, and then I can just disconnect it and possibly move it if I need to, if the things are too close. But I am excited and looking forward to maybe having some strawberries. These are an ever-bearing type. There are 2, at least, that I know of, categories of strawberry plants. Or at least this is what I remember my mom talking about when I was growing up. We always had both June bearing, meaning they would produce berries in the early summer and then they would be done, and then ever bearing. Strawberries are supposed to be a perennial, so in theory I should not have to buy more strawberry plants unless I want a lot more strawberries, but I am hopeful that this will be a permanent thing here in the garden bed that I will not have to repurchase each year. So I felt like that was a good investment, and it helped out her track team a little bit. So this is an update on where I'm at currently with Gertrude, the vegetable garden house. I do need to do a little bit of fixing. The door is a little janky, so I'm going to try putting the hinges on the inside and reconfiguring and using a slightly different hook. But anyways, quick little update. Thanks for joining me here today in Aunt Susan's garden.